Hello, world, and welcome back to Creating Light with Kelsey. What's up? It's been a couple months. What's up, my bitches? The last time I said that, which was literally the last episode, I was like, hey, fam, babes, loves, bitches, whatever I decide to call you. And then one of you commented, as your bitch, I'd like to say blah, blah, blah. I thought it was funny. So yeah, I had to bring it back. Had to bring it back, had to come back in with that introduction. It's been a minute. I felt overwhelmed, honestly, with the weekly podcast episode expectation that I was putting on myself because I was also committing to a once a week free somatic activated healing class within the people in my community. People, if you're on my email list, you have access to that. And so doing those two things on a weekly basis was becoming, it was like it was taking up so much time. But also, what was taking up so much time with this podcast episode situation is that I would just sit here and edit and have every little moment so perfect and no pauses and no this and no that. And then I would be pausing when I'm recording and not just let myself talk because I knew I could edit. And editing is what was taking forever. And until I'm in a spot to where I want to prioritize investing in a video and audio editor, I just stopped. And I don't want to do that because I know podcasting is part of something that I'm here to give the world. And so I have decided to show up and speak and not edit. So that is a new approach of me speaking on the podcast platform. So if you hear random little pauses, a lot of filler words, we're learning. We're learning. And what helped me learn that is I started doing lives on Instagram. That scared me shitless because I knew I couldn't stop and perfect the product. I was just showing up. People were witnessing me live and then speaking and hoping that everything was okay and that what I was saying was landing with people. So that gave me the practice to now I'm coming back around of like, okay, let's do that on the podcast and trust that everything's going to be fine and don't pick yourself apart because there's no need. But yeah. So this is a catch-up episode because a lot has happened. If you are in my reality in the field that is Kelsey, and you'll probably learn as you listen to me more and are in my programs, or if you have me as a guide and all of that, mentor, the life of Kelsey moves fast. So the fact that I haven't been on, I mean, I've been on Instagram, very active on there, but haven't been active on the podcast since December or something like that. Maybe. I don't even know. A lot has happened. A lot has happened. A lot happens in the life that is Kelsey, which I'm very grateful for actually, because I can get lost in the fact of feeling like there's always so much to do, but then when I pause and look back of all the things that I do, I actually move through things pretty quickly and I get a lot done. So I'm also practicing that and being more present and still and slowing down and being grateful instead of like, well, there's always shit that needs to get done, and then I'm sticking myself in a hamster wheel. So, not about that. But I made a little list of talking points of what has kind of gone down the last couple months. The first big thing. It's currently pinned. It's not going to be pinned forever, but I'll link it in the show notes if you want to like listen to that topic more. And I might have one episode where I talk about that in more depth. But today is not that day. Today's not that day. But the first big thing is that no one signed up for my 8-month healing container. And that cleared my calendar for 2024 because that's 8 months that I had strategically planned out and guiding people, and that was going to be my main focus for the year. And I had let go of everything because the universe had told me to. Let go of previous contracts, positions, put everything that I could in the back end of to where this could hold and actually put it out into the world. And I did, and it pushed me to do the things that needed to get done as far as the back end for creating light and having the structures to continuously build on something from that within my business of now it can start to work for me. None of that would have been done or structured if I wouldn't have tried to put this container out in the world. So that's one big lesson that I see, but it also brought into light the level of responsibility that would have happened taking a group of people versus just one, because I was used to just taking one at a time. This was the first year I was going to take a group, of taking a group through it, and that there was actually a lot more work to be done in the back end. And I am showing up still, and this is wild. I'm showing up still and teaching in the container as if people are there. So I am recording stuff on a weekly basis and teaching and doing saw method practices and filing it in the portal. So then when next year half of the work is already done. So when people sign up, boom, I do not have to work as much because I continued to work this year. And that was the thing I could feel of, wow, if people did sign up, I was a little relieved when people didn't, because I didn't realize until it was near the end there that I was like, wow, this is going to be a lot of work. There's actually still a lot of work that needs to be done. And I didn't realize that content needed to be recorded. I was just going to do everything live, and I am still going to show up live next year, but yeah, you don't know these things. You don't know these things and figure this shit out when you're running your own programs until you just put it out there and you do it and you figure it out along the way, and then it gets better. So, not worried about that. Ego definitely had to come around to the fact of that to keep showing up even though no one's in the room. But the cool thing is that now that I'm been teaching for a month or a little over a month now, it's starting to feel like people are in the room. That's a cool thing. And I'm learning how to hold that within my body of holding that responsibility and building that and showing up and putting the ego aside of like, it's not about you and it's not about if anybody's in the room. This is what your soul came here to do. So are you going to show up and still proceed with the mission? And the answer is yes. The answer is always yes. And I tried to not do it or to convince myself to like just wait, or maybe this isn't for me. But then I wasn't sleeping at night. My body wouldn't let me sleep. My body wouldn't let me rest until I continued to choose the mission and continue to choose my big ticket item to pour myself into, knowing that it will be in return. And um, I'm just, it's about that soul alignment and the soul purpose. And if I abandon that and I say no to that, that is where I cannot rest. And that's how I know that this is still very much in alignment. It was just unexpected on the timing. I thought it was going to happen this year in 2024 with the group, and it did not. So trusting the timing on that and not taking it, not the ego getting caught up in that, and still showing up because it is asked of me. So that's a big one. I talk more about it, like I said, on the Instagram live, and how I'm not giving up, and it just shifted trajectories and a lot of different stuff is in the works now, which is exciting. And it wouldn't have happened because I wouldn't have had the space, because Ascend the Underworld Within would have taken absolutely all of the space and all of me, and it would have been a great sacrifice. And that was one thing that was landing as I was processing the situation of, you have been working so hard and within work and in the healing journey, that it doesn't have to be a sacrifice anymore. The way that you offer yourself and you have these things out in the world, it doesn't have to be a sacrifice. So showing up, recording it now for next year, it's not going to be a sacrifice. It's going to be a state of overflow. I'll be way more present. I'll have the ability to be way more present because the back end will be done. I'll be less of an admin person. And yeah, I am excited about that. I just said, I was like, oh, I'm not going to get too much into it. And here we are. And the next thing, so through this whole rug pull situation and of like, okay, just kidding. You thought this was going to happen and we needed you to think that it was going to happen. We needed you to put your all into launching this, and then it didn't. And then coming back around to accepting the therapist title again of both, like somatic activated healer and art therapist, and how do those intertwine together in different offerings. Some offerings are just healing, some offerings can be art therapy, some offerings can be mixed together, and be more expressive art versus art therapy. Like there's a lot that I get to do by coming back around to the therapy title, because I was rejecting it hard of I'm not a therapist anymore, and therapy doesn't work and in the way that I want it to, or it's not deep enough and that's why I can't do it, or blah blah blah. It just which I do. I do think somatic work goes deeper than therapy, but I also do think that they work well together. And it was funny because it kept getting mirrored back to me in my outer world. Like I would be on Sadi Simone's membership and be on the live calls and things. And then when I'd go up to speak and how he'd talk about me, he'd be like, yeah, everybody, and Kelsey's a therapist. And I'm over here like, I have been telling the world for the last year that I left the therapy field, which I have. I haven't seen a client therapeutically in a while. No, I did have a little contract thing there for a couple months in the fall. Man, shit gets blurry because a lot happens. There's been a lot of shifts in the last year with coming into the certification of somatic activated healing. But anyway, Sa kept saying out loud to everybody, and like there's hundreds and hundreds of people in his membership of like, yeah, Kelsey's a therapist. Kelsey's a therapist. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And one of my friends called me out too, was like, you're there's a difference of just like, yeah, it's I'm more of a healer now than a therapist, but like you're starting to really reject and resist and trying to push away that title of a therapist. And like it's in a way that you need to get curious about. So then I started to get curious about it. And then when I'd cross paths with people and I'd tell them about my work or what I do, or they'd come across my page, they would still call me a therapist. So I was like, what the hell is going on here? Because I was told by the divine to leave the therapy field. And then now it's coming back. Just like I was told by the divine to launch the Ascend the Underworld Within program. And then that didn't work. And then the therapy thing didn't work. And then now it's like, okay, come back and try this and try this. And so it's a little confusing, but it's one of those things of, are you going to keep listening, or do you need all the reasons why and all the answers to the guidance? Or can you listen and trust? And then it will all fall into place. So that's where I'm at with that. And I can feel when with the resistance to the therapist title was also, I'm understanding now the last couple weeks, was the resistance of a certain level of responsibility as well. And I'm re-entering the desire to hold more responsibility, to hold more responsibility with clients with a certain title, how I work. And with that will eventually, which I can see, like have greater exposure, because people coming to me of like, oh, how to just different collaborations, partnerships, and people interested in being in my field to possibly work for me. And all of that is added responsibility. So if I'm over here resisting responsibility with a certain title of therapy, then where else am I resisting responsibility in how I work and how I show up in my business? And how can I shift that? How can I come back into acceptance and the willingness to hold the responsibility? Because if creating light is to reach its full potential, and I am the vessel of creating light and birthing all that is that's to come through, that means it's on me to hold that. It's on me to accept the responsibility. So I feel that now, and I'm open for that now. So I'm grateful that we've I don't know, we're just on this journey, and we're figuring it out along the way. And who knows, I could change my mind in 2 months and say, never mind, not a therapist. But technically, I still have always been, because my credential has been active the entire time. even if I wasn't seeing clients in that way. So yeah, it's okay if you're confused. It's okay if you're figuring stuff out. It's okay if you have multiple passions. So let that just be a testament. I think that is it for that little topic. The next checking in with Kelsey point is that I've been dating again. And not that like I'm gonna divulge all the hot tea on a podcast, but what is of value to share is that I've been dating, since 2021 because I left my ex-husband in 2020. And so I waited about a year before I started dating. And so I've been dating on and off since then because sometimes I've taken breaks because I'm just like, I've like saw patterns repeating. And once that was happening and I wasn't learning the lesson, I was like, okay, I need to take a beat, look a little more inward, and then try again. And so now I'm trying again because I felt that over the fall or spring, I don't even know. But now we're in March. So I've been trying again. And stuff has changed in the way that I'm attracting people, which is exciting. And I have felt a lot of grief and disappointment within dating over the past years. And each time I've continued to choose to keep my heart open and learn from it, feel all of it, and just keep moving forward and trusting that it's getting better each time. And this last person that I dated was a huge testament to that. It was like, wow, I'm I'm proud of myself and the work that I've done to be able to have felt what I felt and then still choosing me at the end of it when realizing that it wasn't in alignment and not because they were a horrible person, but just because it wasn't in alignment and then choosing that, which was very hard. I was this close to not to not doing that. And one of my friends told me, she's like, this very much feels because this is a whole lot of context, so it might not completely make sense just hearing this line. But she's like, this feels like an accumulation of everything that you have worked for and everything that you've done to be an example, to say to be who you say that you are. So are you going to keep pursuing this and abandoning yourself and say yes to something, say yes to good and instead of greatness, and then be betraying yourself slowly every day within the process? And I was like, yeah, I'm not here for that. And so I had to really sit with that and trust, trust myself. So let that person go. But then we're out here again, dating, and I'm excited. I don't feel I don't feel hard, I don't feel bitter, I don't feel skeptical. I feel a little on guard. I'm a little like, you know, we're just looking, we're peeking, we're aware, but I'm open and that feels good. That's all I'm gonna say right now for the dating topic. Maybe I'll have more updates later, but I think it is important for me to talk about that because I haven't talked about it on my revealing my healing story yet, because that's something that I realized was hitting me harder than I thought of, like coming back and talking about it publicly. But with leaving my ex and then to be back in the realm of dating, that it's huge when you leave such a toxic situation to that healing process of your nervous system and being able to trust people again and be willing to take the risk to be seen and held and loved. Like that's no simple task. And so I am here 3 years later, after like just like repeated dating and learning and taking accountability of patterns and saying no. to treatment. Like that has just been a huge practice to get to where I'm at now of the feeling state of I'm at and how I'm approaching dating currently. So that is very much worthwhile of me continuing to talk about, which is why I put it on my little note thing to bring up for check-ins with Kelsey today. So that'll be a topic of continued discussion as I'm very much in the middle of it still, of new experiences, which is exciting. But next one, I can't remember if I talked about this on the podcast. I know I've talked about it on Instagram, but I have yet to move, which obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you can tell that I haven't moved yet because the background is the same. That's a thing of trusting the timing and not forcing. And I usually, in the times that I've moved, it's like the last few times. Wait, let's think about this for a second. Hmm. I can't really pinpoint because I've moved a lot. I can't like pinpoint it right now on the spot, but I can remember that a lot of times of me moving was out of a sense of like I gotta get the fuck out of here, a little of like survival taking place. And I'm reminding myself and my body that we are safe. We don't have to move because of unsafety this time. So just pause, breathe, be still. We don't have to rush this process. Let it be presented to you. Take divine action on looking for things, but then also don't settle because just because you want to be in a different spot. So, because I was pushing and pushing that since October, November, because I thought I was going to be moving in November, and then it obviously has not happened yet because now we're in March. So, that's been frustrating. And now I've been coming into a layer of acceptance of that, of two, and tapping back into gratitude of like, hey, take a beat and be grateful for where you're at now, and be grateful for this place that you live in now, and be grateful that this is the first environment that you've landed in where you have been 100% safe. That's huge. So there really is no rush to get out. We know that this time is done and we need to expand and have our own space again, but also be grateful for where you're at right now because past Kelsey was dying to get to this spot. Past Kelsey was striving and praying and begging for safety. And you've been here and you've been here for a while, and that's okay. And the next phase is here. It's stuff that I tell myself and talk to myself about. And yeah, if you talk to yourself that way, stuff will change faster than you think. And I kind of forgot about that concept because I was just so in my head of like wanting things to be done the way that I wanted them to be done and annoyed that I haven't moved yet and lost sight of that for for a little bit. But I'm human. Um, okay, the last two things. Another thing, super exciting. I've been, which you guys won't know. I say that. This is why I have the list because we're checking up on Kelsey. I'm telling you the things that you don't know yet. But I found the acro community. The acro community found me. Acro yoga, if you don't know what it is. But it's where they do really cool things and they throw people in the air and it's like cheerleading but different. And it has really brought me back to my play and joy, and I have fucking needed that. I mean, I'm a serious person. I take life seriously. I take healing seriously. I take my work seriously. And then and when you're so devoted to a greater mission, it's like, okay, well, all these things need to get done, or I need to do this, da 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 da. But I love what I do. So then it can be so easy to be consumed in that and then not pause and play and have fun and be in joy. I've just realized in this moment that this episode I've talked a lot about pausing, being still, taking a beat, slowing down. Yeah, I guess that's been the theme the last 2 months. Like, chill. It's okay. There's no rush, especially with the container and then the moving and the dating again. Yeah, all of it. It's like, remember that this is destined for you and that this is with work, that this is your life's work. So there is no rush. Where do you got to go? Because you're already in it. You're already living the life. You're already living the life of the owner of creating light. So just keep showing up and don't worry about how it unfolds and when and where and all of that because it's already getting done because I've already chosen it and I've already chosen to show up and it's chosen me. All of this that I've been talking about has already chosen me. And when I remember that, then I can slow down and I'm not chasing anything, which is totally a trauma response, like this chasing, feeling desirable and wanted and chosen. Your mission has already chosen you. So just relax because you chasing is you running away from it, not you chasing and running towards your mission. It's you running away from it because it's already chosen you. So chill out. Mic drop. Anyway, back to acro. It's brought me back to my play. I've been making play more of a priority, and I knew that back in when I was taking the container on myself in 2023. I was like, man, I really need to make play a priority, and that I have gone as far as I can in my healing journey with not making play a priority. And if I continue to move forward, it's gonna get dark real fast, and I'm not gonna actually be able to go any further. I need joy and play in my life consistently. So I've been going to acro 3 times a week, taking a couple classes, and then we go outside and play in the park, which is like, is that real life? Because that term, you want to play at the park, you want to play in the park, that's the term that children use. And we take that for granted, like children, that just being their core aspect of life and things that they do on a regular basis and that they look forward to of like playing together and playing outside. And now that's back in my reality and I'm an adult. I'm playing again. So that is, I just needed it. Point blank, period. There's at this, I don't really have anything else to say right now other than I needed it. My soul needed it. My inner child needed it. All parts of me needed it. And I'm really grateful that that's in my reality and it's fun and I'm not obsessive of it like I was in cheer because that was performance based and routine and I had it for scholarships and all of that. So there was all of this expectations and pressure and I still loved it because it was my passion at the time. But now I'm glad to have something like that back in my field and doing it for no other agenda other than that I like it. And I need that in my life because everything else that I do is has some kind of agenda because it's work related in some shape or form or yeah. So, having things in your life with no other agenda than other than that you like to do it. That's important. Okay. The last thing is this. Oh man, why did I put this as the last? It's a deep one. But I've already seen it shift, so that's why I want to talk about it now briefly. But I've had a new shadow within me present itself the last few weeks or so. Maybe, yeah, about that. We're about going on a month now with working with it. And it's involving scarcity. And it is, has been, was, because now it's brought to light, so it's not as much. But it was the shadow within me in my entire being and psyche that was completely left unturned. I had no fucking idea that it existed in that level, and that seed that of the feelings that scarcity was attached to. existed in my being. So that has taken me out. And it by coming back into that such depths of shadow work in a way, because I'm here and I'm feeling all the feelings and unpleasantries of life. Because I mean, a lot of shit has been happening for years now, and I've been in a flow of that like constant devotional work. Um, which is probably why this finally came up because it felt so safe because of my consistency. So I had the courage to come forward of like this is going to need a lot of your time and attention and your and being compassionate and delicate and kind of going back to square one in the way that you would address it. And that's what it very much feels like that. It feels like I'm doing shadow work for the first time with this shadow of scarcity. So that has just been mind blowing and also beautiful because it's bringing me into a deeper devotion of self-love. And I kind of realized that almost immediately of that's what scarcity is showing me is to continuously come back into deeper devotion of self-love. And the level of attention that it has needed is a few weeks ago, it was needing daily attention of saw method practices, art, sitting and crying, um, meditating, doing intentional prayers over water and drinking the water. And then this new mentor came into my field, and she works, Victoria Washington, and she works with scarcity and how it is within your body somatically. So that's not a coincidence. I was like, oh, okay. Whenever you're ready in your next level evolution, the mentor will be presented to you. Like that typical saying, it's so fucking true. And so I signed up for her program and her membership. And I've been doing her tapping, her money tapping and scarcity tapping and wealth embodiment flows is what they're called. And she like takes you through scarcity and somatically and your wealth identity somatically and intertwining that together and just going there through all the depths of your being. And so I've been doing that almost on a daily basis too, along with the water and the gratitude and the prayer and the art and the journaling. There's so much journaling now. Um, so that I'm going hard in the paint on that because that's what's demanding it of me at this time. And I didn't realize how intertwined scarcity was and into everything, into everything. But I've been meeting it with love and letting it speak and um show me where it had me, you know, showing me where it had its grips on me and where it was strangling me in ways that I had no fucking idea. And or I didn't know that she was the culprit of it. And so, but here we are now. The light is shown. Things are already shifting in my life. Things are already shifting. I'll probably be able to share about it soon, but that's what's been going on in the shadows of Kelsey. I don't really have any much to share about that because I'm still in it. So I don't have like words of wisdom to give you because I'm learning, but I will just reiterate that scarcity is showing me where I get to be in deeper devotion of self-love. That's the little wisdom I can give you from that. And that's the intent of all shadows. Most shadows, in my opinion, is to bring you back into self-love. Um, is the root. There's a lot of other things that they'll teach you, but it's usually always attached to love is the main thing. And for me, that's what it was, and I haven't figured anything else out. But as far as it, if it's anything else in addition to love, but it's just been love for me. Self-love, self-love journey. But yeah, that's the end. That is the end of my list of all the check-in things that I wanted to share with you. And that with the podcast, I'm gonna show up when I show up. I'm not gonna put pressure on myself to do a weekly episode because I've committed to doing the once a week free somatic activated healing classes and then showing up to teach in Ascend the Underworld Within and recording all that content. So like that is what I know I can commit to on a weekly basis. And then the podcast, we'll see how frequent it happens, but especially since I'm no longer going to be editing the episodes, I'm just gonna put it out there. I might show up more often because I will have way more time to do that because then I'm just sitting and recording and then putting it out into the world. Like I would have more time to do that. Editing took fucking hours. Hours. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your loyalty because I know I have listeners, I have subscribers, and you're here. You're here, you're active, and I appreciate it. And you're also what keeps me going because I'm here for you. I'm here to speak to you and provide guidance and yeah. Anything else that I want to mention? Nah, with the free classes, the I'll put that in the show notes. You can just sign on. You just have to be on my email list to have access to that. Oh, I am opening myself up, already open for one-on-one work. So that is, you can find me on Psychology Today again if you're in Florida. And then, but also on my website, I'll link that there if you want to work with me for 6 months. It's a 6 month commitment. And you have to apply. You have to apply. I want to make sure that I want to honor you and honor me and that we are an aligned fit and something that is meant and that it will serve both of us. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that because I know I'm gonna attract some really great people and I'm so fucking excited to work with you. And it's gonna be different because now I'm certified in somatic healing, somatic activated healing, and then we're bringing in the art and intuitive movement, all of that. Like it's next level. I'm pumped. And if you want replays to the live classes, so if you show up live, it's free. And then if you want any access to replays, there's different tiers of entry and access. And I'll put that link as well in the show notes. But thank you for listening. And remember, when we see the light in ourselves, we create light in others.